What is up, and welcome to our recap and rankings from PGL Cluj-Napoca. Hey, it just got confirmed for 3 more years. It's going to be a staple for the calendar, and honestly, from the broadcast to the people on the desk to the show in itself, best of threes. It's even changing IM, how they're doing the major.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good event. I think the biggest thing for me was the best of threes. Like you said, obviously it's been a really, really good Swiss stage. They're going to take it to the major, so clearly works. I think we had the best teams at the event that made it through, so it was really exciting to watch everybody play.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we got to see the best teams filtered out in the 2-0 pool. We had the best teams in the 2-0 pool, and you couldn't have wanted for anything better. The playoffs got a little rocky, but
yeah, I think it's a good experience too, because like usually in the Swiss stage you see just best of ones, and yeah, a team might upset a big dog, but it's like you don't really get that feel of playing a big dog in a series. Now you get series throughout the entire event, so you had like some smaller known teams playing like Vitality and playing Falcons in series games that aren't going to eliminate you from the tournament. So I thought that was really cool for them.
Yeah, 100%. And we also got a giant wizard staff, 2 stories. I mean, what else? What else can you ask for it? Peak. So let's start it off. We're going to have the shooting star. Who you got this weekend?
So I got Flamesy. Kind of a surprise, I guess, because ZywOo's always the star that you think of when it comes to Vitality. But I thought Flames played tremendous this entire event. He had a 1.29 rating through 15 maps. So like a 1.3 rating through 15 maps, that's a star player, no question. You're going to be in the top couple players. I think he was the 3rd highest in this entire event. But if you're putting up a 1.3, you're going to be for sure one of the top players in the event. So I think he played really, really good. The map that stood out to me the most was probably against Aurora. It was the overpass map. It was literally a 2v5. Him and ZywOo just took over the entire map, especially on the T side. When they were the first half on T side, they took over. They both had like 20 kills before like the first 10 rounds.
100%. I mean, I think what he's been doing has been incredible. We saw it a little bit at the last event. He started to come online. And then, we joke often about how the MVP award at times feel like it's given to ZywOo. And he even mentioned at the end, like, hey, when I start seeing my teammates do good, I try to do a little bit better. But in the final of itself, I mean, Flamesy, in my opinion, was the better player in the finals. I think ZywOo was better for the tournament, but for the finals, for sure, Flamesy.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, for me, I got Nico. And I think, we just don't give the old guys enough credit sometimes. And, dude, he rocked a 1.47 in their elim game. You cannot ask him to do anything else at this stage of his career. I mean, we're talking about one of the biggest changes that they're considering making is making him an IGL, which you would assume makes him a worse player because now you're worried about other stuff. And for a dude to still be rocking 1.47s in series versus S-tier teams at this stage of the career is unbelievably impressive. I mean, the guy looks incredible. He's definitely not the problem with that team. I mean, he might cost them in a major final, but, when you're not making it to finals, you can't be blaming him.
Yeah, I was definitely impressed with Nico this weekend because he's definitely had some events recently where he hasn't played to his full potential, and it's kind of like you were saying, he might not have a lot left in the tank. Is he going to move to IGL? What do they need to do? But I think this weekend especially, he really, really performed well. The team kind of behind him let him down, but I like that shooting star call out.
No, 100%.
So next, we're going to talk about a good surprise from the event. What was that?
For me, it's got to be the MongolZ. I mean, I rag on this team a whole lot. I'd like to not give them a lot of credit, and I actually really thought they're going to be kind of ceiling capped at probably not even making the top 10 again, maybe not even top 15. They actually looked really good. They played as a team. They made really good moves throughout the event. They actually looked like they were better on strats and kind of coaching than a lot of the other teams, which is not something I really expected from those guys, because previously the last iteration felt like you needed Senzu and 910 to carry, and if they did, they did. And if they didn't, they got bounced early. Whereas now it actually feels like they're playing more of a team. We mentioned a little bit at the last event. I mean, you're seeing them do weird stuff to where they'll run double ops on Mirage and like close games like the one versus Navi that they did. And I also think, losing Senzu obviously hurts. And then the new cat, he's not looking bad. He's definitely not a problem. I think Techno and Mazzino, you get into a little bit more trouble. Those guys have been a little bit less consistent. But overall, like for them to make the run they ran, and they played good teams. So, I mean, I was really impressed.
Yeah, me too. Them going 3-1, that's something I did not see throughout the Swiss stage, especially with it being a series like we were talking about, the best of 3 with the new guy coming in, which he's played really good. Like you said, This isn't the only event he's played good either. So I think it's cool how he's kind of just jumped into the team. We saw it with Controles also. He was really successful right at the start of his career as well with them. But Cobra Zero, he looks really good. They pulled off the double op a couple times, and he had it in his hand. So I think they could definitely be a team. I know we both talked about them dropping off throughout the year. It kind of looks like they might be here to stay and just maybe not a top team, but they're still going to be like mid-pack and upset some people.
Not for sure. What about you? Who do you got?
I got Stayer from Astralis. I thought Astralis as a team, they didn't look great this event. Obviously, they have 2 new guys, and they haven't had a lot of time underneath their belt yet. But I thought he played tremendous this entire event. I think I have it written down here somewhere. Actually, no, I don't have it written down. He had a really good rating. He was in like the top 5 players for the entire event. They did get eliminated before the playoff, but overall, I think he played really good. And I think this team, if they want to take things to the next level and keep improving, if he can play like this, that's going to be a huge plus for them. So he was my good surprise.
Not for sure. I think he's looked incredible. I mean, between what he's been doing in FaZe, like those two are looking really good. I think they're going to be able to push that team easily into the top 10, but I'm just hoping they can start getting some, some semifinals, maybe creep into a finals up there.
And I also think with this format, we've said it multiple times already. This format eliminated your teams that were like your lower level teams. Your big dogs made it out. I don't think they're to that level of making it into this bracket yet, but they're very close. I mean, we saw them get eliminated at 2 and 3, so they're right there on the cusp. I think if these guys continue to work, they could make a few brackets in the with their
for sure.
form.
I think now the most beloved one. What's the trash we're taking out? We got to take out the trash. Who you got?
I'm taking out 3D Max, and it's been an up and down roller coaster with them. I think sometimes they look like an explosive, really, really good team, but this event especially, they completely dropped the ball. Now, they did have a little bit of harder matchups. They played Falcons first, and then I think they played Astralis second, who's a team that they can beat, in my opinion. I do think Astralis is maybe a little bit better than them overall, like just as far as consistency goes. You know what you're going to get from Astralis, even though it might not be great. It's going to be 3D Max. You don't know what you're going to get. You could get a great team. You could get a terrible team. And I think we got that terrible team the whole weekend, and it really shown to me against Heroic, getting 2-0'd from Heroic. They didn't win a single map this entire event. So I think it's time. I don't know if it's time to split up this core, but the core has been together 2.5 years now, and it doesn't look like things are getting better at this point. It kind of looks like things are trending down. 6 map loss streak, so that's my trash to take out.
Not for sure. Last time I had to go with the Falcons. I mean, we still were having kicks and Tessa's problems over there, but this time I'm going over to our most beloved FaZe. Like Jacob and Brokey, they're just not it. They're just too inconsistent. It feels like a heart rate monitor every time those kids are playing. This event was, and we'll get to it more into the team side, but you need Frozen and Twist to carry. That's your only chance with this team. Like Brokey and Jacob, they're just not going to do it. And that team has to make a change. For me, that's the only thing I think can fix that squad right now is you got to get rid of those 2 players and move on quick because the major's coming. Yeah, they're not looking better. They're looking worse.
I'm right there with you. I actually was thinking about putting them for my take out the trash as well, but I did Twist in the last episode, so I didn't want to do a double down and do it again. But they could easily have been mine as well. So they need some stuff to change if they're going to be the FaZe that we all know and love, kind of competing in Counter-Strike.
No, 100%. So as we move over and shift gears into the team side, we're going to go top to bottom all the way down. So first, we're going to start with the 0-3s, not able to secure a single victory. First, we got 3D Max. What do you got them coming in?
So kind of bouncing off the last thing, taking off the trash. I have them at a 3, actually. Again, I think they had a little bit of a tough draw having Falcons first, but Astralis and Heroic, Astralis, they should be taking a map off them. Heroic, they should be beating them. If not beating them, at least taking a map off. So I just think this event was really, really bad for them, and I think this could be the event that really they take a look at the team and think, if we're going to improve, if we're going to change this trajectory of this team, we have to make a change of some sort.
Yeah, and I mean, so they announced that they're going to have a couple changes coming down the pipeline. They're going to be swapping in Body or Missoula in for Body, and they're actually bringing MBK back from old Envious back in the day to be the assistant coach, and then they're swapping the coaches back. It's a lot of changes, but this is, like you said, this is a French roster that was one of the 3 rosters that actually held together through all of last year and made no changes. And I think there goes a lot of credit to that. But for me, I got them at a 3 as well, and it's for everything you said. This team should be a like 10 or 12 team. They should be taking maps. They should be at least not going 0-3. I really think that they were just kind of outpowered here. Like the Heroic squad, they're not playing with their actual full roster. They have a fill-in. You should be beating that team. You have no right, no reason to lose to that team. And you just can't do that. And it's good that they look like they're moving forward in a positive direction, but also at the same time, like we just had 2 or 3 weeks ago, Apex talking about how they're a really good French team. They like playing them. They always play them hard. And then you watch this event, and it's like, looks like a completely different team. They look like a shell of themselves.
It would also be different, in my opinion, if the matches were even like slightly close, but they kind of got dominated by everybody, including Heroic, who, like you said, is playing with a stand-in, a team that they should be beating. So that's why I think 3 is very valid for us.
No, 100%.
Starting next, though, we have the other 0-3 team. We have Pain. What you got for them?
This pains me a lot, full pun intended, because I really like Snow. I'm going to go with 5, which makes it not sound as bad as it is, because I just think this is what this team is right now. Like, they just don't look good. It looks like they're ceiling. I mean, it's one of those where we were doing all this talking last year at the major about how, Fallen is the GOAT of Brazilian CS, and here comes Snow, the young upstart prodigy, and he's gonna take that mantle, and he's not done anything. He's basically been a shell of himself.
Yeah.
The only person on that team really at all is NQZ, and they're the only person on that team that has had above a 1 rating. The other 4 haven't, and there's no way you can sustain in that capacity. So, like, the reason I give him a 5 is because, like, this is what you're going to expect until something changes. I'm not saying we need to change the team. Just might need more time to gel together, or maybe it's strats or something. But, like, in the current capacity, it feels like this is what you're going to get.
Yeah, I'm a little bit below you. I have a 4, but for all the same reasons you just mentioned. The only reason that I didn't put them at a 3 like 3D Max is because they were able to take a couple maps in a few series that they played, but ultimately went 0-3. So I think a 4 is, not very good, and they're not very good right now.
Yeah, and on the note of just rolling with the not very good, we got FaZe. They did get a map win. They did 2-0 that bad heroic squad, and then after that, they proceeded to lose the Falcons, close game. Parivision lost, close game. But then they got kind of smoked by Astralis to get bounced.
Yeah, so I think it was an average FaZe event for me. I put them at a 5, kind of like you said. I think they got a good series win under their belt, or not a good series win, but they won a series that was under their belt. They had a tough draw against Falcons. I don't think they're going to beat them ever. But the Astralis one is one that stood out to me a little bit. I think Astralis is definitely a team that I don't know if I'm ready to say that they should beat them at this point, because we know the phase that we've been getting since the end of the major. So I'm not going to say that they should beat Astralis, but they should at least make it close and make it a really good map, and it wasn't. And so I have them at a 5. I think it was average phase experience. Never thought that they would make the bracket, and they didn't. So
yeah, I had them at a 4 for almost the exact same reasons. I just think that they probably should be still beating this Astralis team. It is a newer team. You're a team that you chose this roster.
Yeah.
You went to the semifinals in a major with this roster, and you selected to roll with it again to try to make the next one and do no changes. So I expect you to win, and I don't know. It's like one of those, I don't know at this point if we should start punishing them with worse grades for worse performance, or if we should just accept this as the new reality, because it feels like it's got to be something in the middle, because this roster just isn't it.
That's where I was at. I literally was like, so am I going to think that this is like the normal phase where I give them a terrible rating because they didn't make the playoff? And I'm like, dude, honestly, did I expect them to make the playoffs? No. So this is about average.
And that's what's crazy to me is, like, when I think of Kerrigan, Twist, and Frozen, those 3 as a core should be good enough to get you out of group stages versus Heroic, Astralis, Food, and those teams. But Frozen didn't show up this event. He had a really inconsistent time. Twist was there for the most part. Kerrigan was there for the most part. Brokey and Jacob, I mean, they're as reliable as a weatherman. You don't know what you're going to get, and they're probably wrong anyway.
Yeah.
But those 3 as a core, you would expect to at least get you to the playoff, and then you probably get smoked. But they couldn't even do that this time. So the big concern for me is Frozen has been Mr. Consistent. We talked about before, if you're going to rebuild this roster, I think he's the only one you keep.
Yeah.
And this weekend, he made that questionable.
Yeah, 100%. Next, we're going to talk about B8. Teams looked pretty good last year, but they made some changes. What do you think from them?
I mean, I got them coming in at 6. I actually liked the way this team looked, especially kind of in their newer form. They got Sitsi coming in, which is a Spirit Academy player on loan. And I actually think looked overall really good to be, I think, 16, one of the youngest players out there. And when you look at their matches in and of itself, like, they weren't really bad matches. I mean, they got Furia early, went 0-2 to Furia, but that's a really good squad.
Yeah.
Then you go 2-0 over Heroic, and then after that, you 1-2 to the MongolZ, almost win, and then you end up getting a draw against Aurora, which is a really hard opponent for you to pick. And it's like not a bad showing overall, and I think probably slightly above their performance. You just kind of need the bracket to go your way a little bit. Like, sure, if you upset a MongolZ, you're in a really good spot, or if you upset an Aurora, you're in a really good spot. But those are hard things to do.
Yeah, 100%. I'm kind of looking at it the same way as you, except I kind of looked at it like they're changing everybody. There's so many new pieces. They played the last 2 events with Segukawa, I think was his name, another 16-year-old who's like brand new to the scene. They bring another guy in. I think they look better than they did with Segukawa, so I gave them a 6, so a little bit above average. But I think, like, if you look at this team from last year and how they performed at the big events last year, it's definitely a downgrade of what they've done. But sometimes you just need to hit the reset button, I guess. I actually thought this team should be one that sticks together and try to build on the confidence that they got last year. But we're here. I do think they had some good results. Like you said, they had a few close matches, and they did beat Heroic, which is a team that isn't, I mean, they had a stand-in, but I mean, you're playing with basically a stand-in, a brand new player on loan as well. So I think it was a good event for them.
Yeah, and it's also like, when I look at that team, like you're talking about over the past year, they have MPL's been there for the longest time. That's kind of been the rock of that organization. And then in the past year, because going into the major last time, I think they were 45th in VRS. So to go from 45th, they've peaked around 10th in VRS, and I think now they're like 11th or 12th. And it's like, in a year, that's a really impressive feat.
Yeah.
And that's where we kind of get into weird spots with recency bias. They do revolve their team a little bit more than most.
Yeah.
But it's like to go from 45th to 10th in a year is like, I mean, BC Game would take that. 100 Thieves would take that. VP would beg for that right now. There's a lot of other teams that kind of would want that transition. I don't think this team is bad by any stretch. It's like, just like you said, you just kind of need some more time to gel. And like, you also feel like it's weird spots. Like, is the Sitsi loan from Spirit Academy a loan with ability to buy, or is it really just Spirit trying to get a player some kind of tier 1-ish experience to see how they're going to go and then just take them back? And that's where my biggest concern is. And again, that's the back end of the business that we don't really get to see as much insight into. But overall, like you said, I think this is a slightly above average performance to them. They get a better they get a better run through groups. They might be able to make a bracket, but they're still kind of on that. Probably not going to make the deepest runs with this roster.
Yeah, I agree.
So then the last one we got for the 1-2 category is going to be Heroic, which we've talked about playing some of the other teams. But what do you got those guys at?
So this was tough for me because I kind of viewed them the same way I viewed B8. We just talked about they both kind of have new rosters as a stand-in with this team. But I actually took them at a 5, which is just straight average. They did beat 3D Max, which I think is kind of surprising because like they shouldn't really be beating 3D Max, but 3D Max also played terrible this event. But they did get stomped by FaZe and B8, so I don't want to put too much trust in them, so I have them at just an average. I don't know the outlook for this Heroic team. It's kind of weird to see Heroic the past couple years because of what they were with Kixon and Tesses and being so successful in Dexter back in the like a couple years ago. And they have a lot of money that they've sold a lot of players for, so I mean, they're a feeder team. They usually, try to develop talent and get them to the top level. So overall, I think this is an event was pretty average for them. Nothing special.
Yeah, I do wonder. I mean, I have them in as 5 as well for all the same reasons. It sucks that they have visa issues, and that's why they can't get their player in.
Yeah.
And I think Youngster's not doing a bad job in that fill-in spot. I actually do like him a lot. But it is one of those, you kind of want this team to, if they're going to keep churning to make money, like just get to the point where you can make a run. Like, hey, I don't know what the number is. Let's save up $1 million or $2 and let's try to see if we can run it for a year and if we can make a top 8 team. Because it seems like they're good at kind of farming that low-level talent and kind of bringing it up to the tier 1.
Yeah.
But the problem is they end up selling it to the tier 1. And that's where even when you see kids come in like Youngster, it's like comes in for a little bit, looks pretty good, like doesn't look bad for the role, like doesn't look out of place. I've seen pros that look more out of place at times, right? That are tier 1 on Falcons, for example. So it's like, I don't think he's in a bad spot, but it's also like, you have these issues, so that's why they're standing in. So it's hard to gauge the team. You just have no idea.
Yeah, 100%. Next, we have Astralis. We talked a little bit about them already. What was your overall for them this week?
I got them at a 5, and it's kind of like, I think it's a mediocre performance. I expect more for them probably. I probably should have went lower. But then when I look at their bracket of itself, it's like, they lost to Navi, which is a close game. I mean, I understand that, like, that's one that there's probably a winnable series for them.
Yeah.
Then you smoke 3D Max, but then you lose to Foot, who plays well. But then you beat FaZe and knock them out. And it's like, and then you go and you get an Aurora at the end, which is like a hard win. So it's like, I kind of expect them to do more, like in terms of like actual results and then finish. But then I look at who they had to play in the order in which they play, and it's like, oh, they kind of did get a tough draw. They didn't make it easy on themselves in a few examples, but like they did impress in others. So like, to me, it's like, it's a net even. Like this is, just a 5.
I'm exactly the same way. I have them at 5. The only result that I thought was like a little bit odd for me was the Foot one. But then, I mean, Foot's been playing really, really good in the last couple of events. So even though they didn't make the bracket here, they've been a giant slayer. They've beaten Furia. They almost beat them again this event. So I think that is a tough team to play regardless. So I didn't weigh Astralis down too much for that. But the matches they played that I thought they would win, they did win. The matches I thought they would lose, they lost. So right around average at a 5.
Yeah, and it's like, I think, like you said, you mentioned earlier, Stair did really, really well in this event, one of the highest rated players. I also think Fizzy did really, really well. The problem, though, is when you went against that Aurora squad, he got smoked by Watzik, and it wasn't really the most comparable. And you need, in those moments, you got to step up and you got to make those moves happen. And that's really what the Astralis team kind of feels like they're missing. And it's also like, we're looking at it through rose-tinted glasses because, 5 to 8 years ago, this was a team that the dynasty could only be stopped by a global pandemic. Other than that, there was nothing in the world that was stopping this team. And then now it's like, can we just get some brackets? Can we just get out of groups? So it's hard to not compare them to their former selves in that capacity.
Yeah. So the team we just mentioned, actually, Foot, they're going to be the next one. What do you have for them for this event?
I got them at a 7. I think they looked really, really good. When I go through and I look at the teams that they played and the order which they won, you upset Aurora, which is a big win, 2-1, very close. Then you play Furia, really close. 1-2, it's a winnable series. Then you beat Astralis, then you lose the MouZ 0-2, and then you lose the Parivision 1-2. And it's like, those are all like
tough.
I don't know that any of those games should have went any other way. And I mean, they kind of feel like they played above their belt line. They just drew hard teams. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a loaded event. It's really hard to compete at the top of the space. But like, they look really good. I mean, Shugs and Symmetry, like, and Demon. The other thing that I want to note is it was crazy when I was looking through the stats of this team for this event. In every single series, a different player was on the top of the leaderboard.
Mhm.
And like that's crazy to go 5 different series, all 5 of your players featured at the top of the leaderboard. Like there's no other team in top level Counter-Strike that's doing that right now.
And I think that's one of the reasons that they're a team that's kind of in our lower to mid-level teams that are able to take Furia to long maps. They're able to take some of these big dogs to the max. So I had them at a 6. I thought it was a good event for them as well. I still think that they can do more, though. That's the only reason I didn't put them at a 7 or even higher is because these teams, they've been playing so good. They've been a Giant Slayer for a few events now. I really thought that they could possibly make the bracket with the way that they were going. Like you said, they beat, was it Aurora the first round who they beat?
Yep, Aurora.
Yeah, they beat Aurora, and then they should have honestly beat Furia again 2-0. They took the first map, and then they lost the second map. It was like triple overtime. So they could have found themselves in a match to go 3-0 just as easily as Furia did. So I actually think that there's some more that they can do as a team. So I have them at a 6. So
No, I agree 100%. It's one of those, like, I'm pretty sure that they were a couple rounds away from 2-0ing Astralis, and they were a couple rounds away from 2-0ing Furia, which is like an insane thing to think about from like a team that we wouldn't really consider too much out of 6 months ago.
yeah, 100%.
The next we got is G2, beloved Heavy God.
So I have them. This was a tough one for me because they didn't make the bracket, and I feel like they're a team that should have made the bracket. But I ended up, instead of going with the 4, I went with the 5. I think it was a pretty average thing. It was a tough start. They had a really tough. They started out with Vitality, and then I don't know who the second team they played was. Do you have
Parivision.
Yeah, Parivision. They played the 2 grand finalists.
100%.
That's what it was. Went 0-2 right off the start. They bounced back with 2 wins, and then they played Navi in what's a coin flip of a match. I think either one of those 2 teams could have won that. Navi did 2-0 them, so that was a little bit confusing in my opinion. But I think it was an average event. They kind of got a hard hand dealt to them. They could have done better though.
Yeah, I joked when we talked about this in real time last week about how this is a team that played 2 very good matches, and then if they would have had a bad third map, they would have gotten 0-3'd. And like that's insane to think from this G2 squad. But also, like when you look at it on paper, it's like that Parivision team went to the finals. That Vitality team went to the finals, and those were the first 2 people you played, and you arguably fought them as hard as anyone else.
Yeah.
You literally took them to map 3 in both of the games. They did fall a little bit flat in some of those map 3s, but it's like those were push games. And then it's like if they would have came out and had a bad game versus Pain, and that Pain team is sneaky good at times. So it's like you could have been 0-3'd off of 2 great games. But instead what happened is they played 4 great games, got the Navi, kind of had a stinker versus Navi, and then you just get eliminated that way. And that it feels kind of flat. I mean, Heavy God was a little bit inconsistent at time, but these are moments when I really got to rely on some Papayas, and like Wonderful really stepped up for Navi in that moment, and some Papayas didn't step up for G2, and it just wasn't enough to get them into the bracket.
Yeah, and that's one thing. The Swiss stage, you could just get the unlucky draw, and they just happened to get the unlucky draw this week. I think they're a team that's more than capable of making the bracket at most events, but just they got a little bit unlucky this time, lost 0-2 from the start. And that really, if you start the tournament 0-2, that really puts you in a hard place to recover from.
No, 100%. So the next side, we're going to swap over to the teams that actually made it to the main stage. They made it to the LAN. Got a little bit of chaos, though, so we got some first round early bounces. This was a 3-0 team. This is your beloved Falcons. What are we doing over here?
So I have them at a 6. I think it was actually close to a 7 because, I mean, the fact that they went 3-0 in the first bracket and then playing Parivision, in my opinion, they should have won 2-0. They won the second map. They actually threw the crap out of the first map on Dust 2. So should have been a 2-0 win over the eventual second place grand finalist. I think if they just do, it's really situational play, in my opinion, that really hurt them this event. It wasn't necessarily this guy couldn't get any kills, this guy couldn't get any kills, especially the series against Parivision. It was simply they're playing situations wrong. They're over peaking. They're not playing bombs properly. They're planning for cat and playing for long, or vice versa. So I think there was just some calling that, in my opinion, we've been critical of Kixen a lot. I think that was one thing that we really saw a lot of this event, and that's the only reason that they were taken out so early. So overall, I think it was above average. They went 3-0 in Swiss. They should have won their first round, but they ended up getting knocked, so I couldn't put them higher than 6.
Yeah, I'm at that Magic's kind of like 6-7 rate. I mean, I'll go with 6 at the end of the day, but it's somewhat for the same reason as you, but also somewhat for like a sneaky negative reason, in the sense of like, we're getting close to saying this is the ceiling of this team. I mean, they're getting kind of sketchy when it comes to making brackets. They're not making deep runs. They're not finding finals. And it's like you're losing weird games that you feel like you shouldn't. But it is like in this scenario, when we saw them play a man down, they were able to beat Vitality. They looked really good. and it looked like, hey, this team has no problems. But then the moment they played Jame, it was like, oh man, that's IGL diff. Like, oh man,
Yeah.
you're getting outplayed. This isn't good. And then we saw it again immediately. And it was like you said, like they were losing the chaotic rounds. It's like almost like when the comms get messy, when the voices get loud. And you saw it happen to Vitality in the finals too, when Jame got that crazy sneak diffuse. Apex called something very specific. They didn't check the very specific things. And then you got to think that is a very well-ran, meticulous organization. I'm certain the Falcons comms are always going to be a little bit more messy and a little bit more hostile and a little bit more kind of questiony. Like, you know, are you going to listen to Nico? Are you going to listen to Kixon? Like, are you going to say nothing and do it yourself because you're Nico? I mean, he dropped a 1.47 in the series. Like, I'm shutting up and listening to him. So, like, I kind of feel like we're getting in the territory of, like, maybe just making the bracket is about what we can expect from this team, no longer expecting them to be competing for that top 2 kind of spot. And that's why, like, for me, it's a 6 and it could be a 7, and it's like a morbid 7. Like, I don't feel good about giving them a 7. I wish this was a 4 or a 5. Like, you shouldn't be getting bounced. But you said in the 3-0, they end up coming out and they beat Furia 2-1 in a good series. And that was like a hard fought, like, hey, this might be 2 versus 3 in the world. And then, I mean, maybe Parivision should be our 2 for sure. So I don't know.
Yeah. So next, we're going to look at another team eliminated in the first round. We have Navi. What do you think for them?
I got Navi coming in at a 7. It should be higher. The only thing with them right now is, like, when they ended up getting eliminated, they lost to MouZ twice. And that's unfortunate, obviously. The first one was 2-1. The second one was 2-0.
Yep.
And inside of that, I mean, Wonderful stepped it up. As much flack as we give Wonderful, he's not the problem. You need Bit and Eam to be able to be very consistent with this team and for them to be successful. And for whatever reason, versus that MouZ squad, they just couldn't find the picks they needed. They couldn't find the entries they needed. And then it ended up being Wonderful getting exit frags or holding good lanes, but it just wasn't enough to get by. And I think they did really well. Their bracket was tough, and that's why for me I give them a 7. Because, like, if we're saying MouZ is a top 4 team, your 2 losses are to a top 4 team.
Yeah.
You're not a top 4 team. What are you, 5th or 6th? And that's okay. But, like, this is still good.
Yeah. So they're actually the only team that I gave a decimal behind my number. I put them at a 6.5. So I'm right there with you. I'm like between 6 and a 7. So for me, it's just like they had a really good event. They played above average, in my opinion. They made the bracket, but it's Bit. When I looked at Bit, especially play against G2 in their elimination match, he popped off, and he was the reason that they were able to get past G2 easily. Same with IM. He played Eam, whatever. He played really good too. And if they can play like that, I think they could. I mean, these guys have won major finals. This is basically, they're one player off of being a major finalist team. So
totally,
they have the capability to be really, really good. So that's one reason I kind of weighed them down more to a 6 instead of a 7, because I do think that they are possible of being really, really good. It's just they have to figure out how to. It's not even be more consistent, because, like we said, they've been in major finals with this entire roster. So they just have to figure out a way to get back to their old ways, into that where they are a top team and they believe in themselves. They can beat these teams. So it was a little bit above average, 6.5 for me, but I think there's still a lot more left in the tank for the potential that this team has.
I think it's also tough too, because when they were rolling, it's like you do always need those moments, and that's with any team. You need the moments where somebody can pop off and save a round. And during their dominant year in 24, you had JL, who was a headshot machine. And it's like whenever you needed something, JL would just get 4 kills with the headshots, and one taps him with the AK, and who cares? Move on. Save the round.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like they consistently have that savior right now.
Yeah.
At times it can kind of be Wonderful. At times it can be Bit. And I really think there's a lot of unnecessary hate towards Alexi B. Like, I think his calling is great. I think right now he's probably a top 3 shot caller, but just because they don't have the hero playmaking, it kind of makes him look a little bit worse, if you will.
Yeah, I agree.
So the next up we're going to have is going to be Aurora.
I have them at a 5, which is maybe for some people a little bit of surprise, but I think they had a really easy Swiss stage, in my opinion, so I wasn't surprised that they made it out. And then they get straight to the first round and they get, easily bounced out, which they did. They played Vitality first, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, they played Vitality at quarterfinal, so not a match that I expected them to win by any means, but overall, I think it was a pretty average event for them. They made it to the knockout stage, which I did expect, but they also had a very easy Swiss stage, so that's why I just had them at a 5.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have them at a 4, because when I look at it right here, they lose the opener to Foot, and then you beat a Pain team, a B8 team, and an Astralis team, and the Astralis is to get in. You lose to Navi in that path in the group stage, and then you lose to Vitality. And when I look at it, again, if you're trying to be a top 5 team right now, Foot is not a top 5 team.
Yeah.
Navi is not a top 5 team, and you lost to both of those teams. And you beat Pain, B8, and Astralis, who you could argue are not top 10 teams.
Yeah, exactly.
So you didn't do anything that you should have done.
Special.
And to me, the concerning one especially is Xantares, because when I look at him, he's usually your rock. He's usually he's going to go out, and no matter what in a 2-game series, he's going to get you 40. Like, he's going to pop off. He's going to get kills. He's going to rip heads. But at times, it looked like he was almost checked out. It looks like he wasn't fully there, and it's like you couldn't really depend on him to do these crazy moments. I mean, there were moments where he started games like 0-5, 0-6, and it's just very uncharacteristic from him. And it's like, we joked about it at the beginning of the year. He should leave, go find a real team. You know, this project isn't going to pan out. And then they looked really, really good in group stage at the previous event, at the IEM.
Yeah.
And then now you're back here where you're back to look bad again. And it's like, I don't know if he's just not fully bought in. I mean, he can carry games. He can carry this team to a bracket no matter what, no matter how bad Manager or anybody else wants to be. He can take them to a bracket almost single-handedly. But it just didn't seem like he wanted to, which I've never seen that out of him before.
100%. I think it's weird. Like last event, if you look at the way they were playing, Soulfly was like a really, really big. It was a really big step up for him. He showed that he can compete on the main stage at a big IM event, and so I'm looking at it like, okay, if they can get this guy online, Soulfly, and they have Xantares, and they have Woxic on the op, like they're actually a pretty good team. And then to come out as flat as they did, like you said, they didn't beat anybody that you wouldn't expect them to beat. I mean, B8, you know, these teams that they're beating, they should beat them easily. So I don't know. It was an average.
Yeah, it was like your highlight is that Woxic is beating up on Fizzy on Astralis, which I mean, I like Fizzy a lot, but it's like
he should.
That's your win. Like I just can't feel good about that. That's why it is what it is. I got him at a 4.
Yeah.
Next up, we're gonna have Furia, which is a surprising first round bounce.
Yeah.
Got upset in the end.
I have them at a 6. I think it was a shaky event for them. I think, at the end of the day, they did make the bracket stage, and they were, I think, 3-1 at the end of the Swiss stage. So it wasn't bad, but I thought they had some bad wins for their standards, in my opinion. They lost to Falcons, which I think is a back and forth, kind of a coin flip series, but they also lost to MongolZ as their elimination match, and I thought that was a match that they should win for sure.
100%.
But they got kind of clapped in that, so I think it was a bad event for them. Overall, they did beat Foot, but that was a shaky match as well. They should have been 2-0 in my opinion from that too, so that was a large reason why I put them a little bit lower. But a 6, I think it was maybe a little bit above average, but not good enough.
Yeah, I actually got them at a 4, and that's probably because I got really high expectations. I expect this team to be top 4 no matter what, probably top 2 no matter what. And maybe I just need to reassess those expectations moving forward because, we saw in the group stage, they go 2-0. You beat B8 and then you beat Foot, which is fine. Look good in those. Then you play Falcons in the 2-0 match. That's a good game. You could argue.
It's close, too.
It's a close game, really hard fought. You could argue that that's like a 2-4 kind of matchup. You're in there. That should be a close competitive game.
Yeah.
Then you go down, you play Parivision, which seemingly now is a top 3 team in the world, and you beat them. Like, you figure out jam time. You smoked them on one map. Like not even close. And then you go into the bracket and you're like, okay, cool. We're feeling good here. Who are they going to pull? Okay. They pull the Mongols, Mongols still figuring out team things. They barely squeaked in, blah, 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 blah. And then, dude, they just got pantsed.
Yeah.
They didn't look good. And when I look at this team, like the concerning part for me specifically about them is like, you really need consistency out of MouZ. We've been talking about that for a long time, and he's just not giving you consistency right now. And the other one is Yakindar too. I feel like Quesarado is a good rock solid Fallen, gets you what he always gets you. He's not changing. But right now, just you're not getting the consistency out of MouZ, and you're not getting the consistency out of Yakindar.
Yeah, I would agree. Next, so we're going to talk about some people that actually won in the playoffs. We're going to start off with the Mongols. What you got for them? Fourth place team.
Again, is crazy that they're in the spot. Huge shout out to them. I mean, I've talked too much smack about the Mongols, and at this moment, I'm giving your flowers because for me, this is a 9. I mean, you have to look when you think about who they should have beat versus who they beat. They got wins over Pain, which they should have beat. B8, which they probably should have beat. Navi, which I would have had them normally lose in that game. And then Furia, who I also would normally have them lose in that game. And their only losses are 2 Vitality. So in a pure push matchup kind of situation, you have 2 losses, and it's to the far and away best team in the world.
Yeah.
And they actually didn't look completely outclassed. They look better than MouZ in those games.
Yeah. Took a map off Vitality.
Took a map, and it's like very impressive run for me. And that's why I got him at a 9. I mean, I think with this roster, even at a perfect 10 and Vitality is playing at about a 5, I still don't know that this team can win an event over Vitality, but I'm still very impressed with them. And I kind of hope they stay together and just figure it out because it did feel like at times this was a coaching diff. This was almost an IGL play diff, which before it always felt like You needed 9-10 and Sinzu to carry. You needed them to do a little bit of magic. Whereas now it's like it actually felt like they were just tactically beating teams.
Mhm. I have them at 8. I thought it was a tremendous event from the Mongols. I think Cobrazera, seeing him and what he's been able to do, they're playing a little bit of a double up like Furia we've seen with MouZ and following. Yep. Cobrazera's picking it up to play with 9-10. So I think this team is actually looking really good. It's a team that me and you both talked about possibly would fall off losing Sinzu, but I think they're right back in the mix, which is really exciting for Asian Counter-Strike. They're the best team out of Asia, so it's exciting for them. They had really good wins, and like you said, they only lost to Vitality. That was the big thing for me that kind of put them in this upper echelon of getting an 8 rating. It's like you're losing to the in and out best team in Counter-Strike, no debate at all.
Yep.
That's their only 2 losses. They also took a map off them, and I also think they should have taken a map in the playoffs off them as well when they played Mirage first map. I think Mongols on Mirage is like, they're like an A+ tier on that map, so that is their playground. So if they can get that map in a series, they have a really good shot at least taking that map, and if you win a map, you got a chance of taking the whole series. So I think they should have won that one in the playoff and maybe made things interesting, but either way, they're playing Vitality. I don't expect them to beat them, but it's crazy seeing them make it this far. I think it's a good top 4 for them.
No, I don't disagree. Next up, we're going to have is going to be the wonderful MouZ. Hey, they're no longer the 4th best team. They're the third best team.
Mm-hmm. I have them at a 6. I think it's just a little bit above average from what we've seen MouZ. I mean, we've seen them come 3rd, 4th so much. There actually was a tiebreaker at this event, so they actually came 3rd, not 3rd and 4th. But I pretty much rate that the exact same thing because I don't know how much merit to give to the tiebreaker match. But I think they looked pretty decent. The 2-0 loss to Parivision was a little bit shaky for me. I think that's the thing that kind of lowered my expectation for this rating, at least for them. So I had them at a 6.
Yeah, I got them at a 6 as well. Similar. I mean, their losses are Vitality and Parivision. Mm-hmm. The big note on those losses is that Spinks really underperformed in both of those.
Yeah.
And we kind of know the history of Vitality. Maybe Apex gets under his skin a little bit. Maybe that matchup still kind of stings. Mm-hmm. But against Parivision, it just, if Spinks plays better, they win that series.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, they don't. And that's unfortunate. And you'd kind of, I mean, we joke, we want to see them in the finals because we want them to get top 2. Mm-hmm. But we also don't want them to play Vitality. So, I mean, that's a little bit of a conundrum.
Yeah.
But I agree. I mean, that's why it's a 6 for me. I mean, they got wins over Parivision earlier in the event. Navi, Foot, and then Navi again.
Yeah. And that's what I think they should have taken a map off of Parivision. That's one thing I kind of went against them, in my opinion, was losing 2-0 in the playoffs to Parivision when they just beat them. It's like you should at least be taking a map off them, in my opinion. So
no, 100%. I agree.
Yeah. Jumping in, we have our finalists. We have Parivision start off with. What'd you have from them?
Hey, it's Jame time, and Jame time's real. I kind of thought this might be a flash in the pan, but this might be a somewhat of a meta shift in terms of the way he's able to kind of play and control the game. I got him at a 9. I mean, I think that a perfect 10 for them is winning an event, obviously, but I mean, this is pretty close. There's not much more you can ask for them. I mean, even Apex said it after the game that when you look at their coach and you look at what James been able to do, especially in a year's amount of time, like, and he said it himself, like one of the hardest games they've played for Vitality, even though it was a clean sweep, like they were very close series. Even the overpass, like looked close, felt close, and they just play so different. It's really hard to understand and predict what it is. And on paper, you don't kind of get it and feel it, but then when you watch it, you're like, oh no, like this is Vitality trying. They are working hard to get this win.
Mm-hmm. For me, I have them at an 8, which I don't know. I mean, in my opinion, they're still overperforming for what I see them at, but it's really cool to see them here. And like you said, if they keep playing like this, it's no longer going to be an overperformance. They're just here to stay, and they have the capability to win events, and we've already seen that at the Blast Bounty. They had really good wins. They beat Falcons, and they beat MouZ in the bracket. They also lost to MouZ and then Furia in the Swiss stage. So they're only losing to good teams. I mean, Furia, MouZ, Vitality, those are all top 4 teams 100%. In our ranking. So they're only losing to good teams. They beat all the teams that they need to handle business against. So I think they're really, really cool. It's amazing what this team's done with having 4 rookies. I saw a stat the other day. I think their average age for the team is like 21 or 22 years old, and James like 27, so he kind of skews that in the other direction. But
100%.
These are young players with a lot of talent, and they play really, really good together. They don't have one just shining star. Anybody can kind of pop off. I think they're actually the only team in Counter-Strike right now that everybody's HLTV rating is in the green, over 1.0. They're the only team in Counter-Strike that has that. So they have something really special. Their team play together. Their traded percent kills is actually the best team in the world at that. So they just play with each other. They get the kills. They only do what they need to do to win rounds. They don't care about who's getting the kills, who's popping off. So I think they got a special recipe, and they keep playing like this, they're going to have a chance to win a major, which would be really cool for Jame again.
Yeah, it would be unbelievable to see him do that. I'm also certain VP is out there somewhere just shaking their fist in the air and nothing but anger. But no, I think to me the only thing this team right now is missing is if you could get some more S tier level consistency out of Zwei, and then Note on that team, then you're going to be in a really good spot because those two you really need a top frag. James going to get his, like we know that, and he's going to save and he's going to do his unique play style, but that's really the only thing that's kind of separating this team, in my mind, from perfection for what they're capable of.
I tell you what, that the Xylo kid, he's been popping off too. He's really, really good. I mean, their whole team pops off at different times.
Don't take him on the under. Pro tip, just recommendations out there.
100%.
So the last one we've got, yet again, back to back Vitality. What you got?
I have them at a 9. Could have been a 10, but I was thinking about the rating, and I was like, no, I'm going to give them a 10 when they win an event without dropping a map for the entire thing. They did not drop a map in the playoffs, but they lost the map to G2, and I think maybe was it MongolZ that was there?
Yeah, the second round
game,
matchup.
Yeah, their first 2 matchups of the tournament, they lost 1 game in both series. So I'm not giving Vitality a 10 until they shut everybody out throughout the entire series. Another great event for them, though. FlamesZ really popped off. He was the shining star for me, so a 9 was more than earned.
Yeah, same. I've got a 9 for them as well, and I agree. I think FlamesZ looked really, really good. It's interesting. Rops still hasn't felt like he has fully came online. Like, what we saw at the end of last year was, in my opinion, the whole last year, him and Zywoo were back and forth for the best player on that team.
Yeah.
They should have alternated MVPs. They both looked unbelievably incredible, like probably the 2nd and 4th best player in the world for sure. But right now, it feels like Rops has kind of almost fell a little bit behind Mezzy and FlamesZ. And again, those are still top 10 players in the world. Like, it's no hate. So I'm just curious, like, maybe it's a little bit of fatigue, or I'm not sure what it is, but I'd like to see Rops step it up a little bit. That's one little point of concern. And then there's moments where it almost feels like that Jame bomb defuse that got on him when he was in Arches. Ipex told him to go Arches, and they didn't listen. Those moments kind of felt like the second half of last year where they started losing some silly games, and they were just not as locked in as they were going into the Austin Major. That's kind of how it feels now. But dude, they're just so good. It doesn't matter if they're locked in. Like they outgun this Parivision squad. They're outgunning everyone right now, and it's like it feels like they're unstoppable. So, like you said, for me, for it to be a 10, it's going to have to be perfect matches, blowing teams out. Maybe 3-4 rounds max. Like, that's when they're going to get it.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, you probably could give this team a 10 for this event because it was tremendous, but I don't want to give them that yet. Until I do think that they could make an event where they just blow everybody out. They don't drop a single map. So you got to give that, like, rating, I guess, leeway to when they do it, we'll give them a 10.
And what's crazy to think to me is, like, when you think about the hardest series they played, like, the playoffs look like a pretty clean walk to them. I mean, I do think the finals was much closer than the scoreboard would show.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think G2 also fought them really well for 2 maps and then not really well for a 3rd map.
Yeah.
And then same thing with the MongolZ. I thought that was actually a really good series, but I want to see this team get pushed. I want to see them face a little bit of adversity. I think you start getting complacent when you start rolling everybody. It's like in college football, you kind of want to lose a game to go into the playoffs because if you go in undefeated, you just play a little weird. And it feels like they might be kind of getting back into that, just playing kind of weird and messy.
I agree.
100%. Any surprises from this list or anything that
honestly, no, not too many surprises. I think Foot was a good surprise. Obviously, my bad surprise was 3D Max, but other than that, everything kind of went about expected. I think, MongolZ was a good surprise too. I didn't shout them out. I think you shouted them out as a good surprise. That was I'm glad to see MongolZ back. We talked about them possibly falling off throughout the year. I still think that could happen, but I don't want it to happen. I think they're an exciting team. They have a lot of fans from Asia, so Asian CS kind of needs that. So it was good to see them kind of back in the mix competing this week.
Not for sure. For me, nothing too crazy. I am a little bit impressed that we swapped a few kind of there in the middle. But we'll be getting the IEM playoffs or IEM season 1 million and 23.
ESL Pro League, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, ESL Pro League.
I think it's 23 maybe. I might be completely wrong. But
Jordan, that'd be sick. Yeah. So we'll have that coming up for you in probably 2 weeks, I think is when that's over. On that, if you got any other questions, comments, concerns, let us know down below. And if you violently disagree with any of our ratings, I only care about one of them, not 2, just 1. Let us know down in the comments. Other than that, peace out.